Welcome to the Lost Signals Discusses Film and TV. Using the revolutionary Manzur-Amosi Thurlow scale,
or Mons,
we scrupulously review these art forms with an emphasis on narrative structure. Join us for another entertaining episode.
Hello there, and welcome back to Lost Signals Reviews Film and Television, and I'm your host tonight, Scott Thurlow, here with my definitely not evil doppelganger twins, Rich Perry, Stephen Amosi,
I'm not evil,
and Chris Morgan.
Hands across the podcast.
Indeed, and we have just seen and are going to review the movie Us, the new Jordan Peele joint, if you will. New modern horror, and I believe Rich got the logline for us.
I think we'll settle on Bizarro, I love you.
Bizarro, I love you, gonna kill you. And with that, why don't you go on to the plot as well, Rich?
All right, so we start off with Adelaide and her family, Gabe, Zora, and
Jason.
Thank you. Jason, they're at their beach house, and Adelaide's a little uneasy because years ago she had a traumatic experience at the Santa Monica beach where she ran into a little girl that looked like her, and then she ran. And the end of the first night, the grown-up version of her doppelganger shows up with a doppelganger version of her family and expresses interest in taking her life and killing her.
They wish to become untethered, as
they
it
wish
were.
to become untethered. So over the course of the evening, they systematically kill their doppelgangers and try to survive. As it turns out, everyone across across Santa Monica has their tethered that they have to deal with.
Right, there's apparently a global
Seemingly
phenomenon
across-
or something.
Or like America.
Well, then it eventually becomes apparent that this is a global, an American epidemic.
At least, yeah,
Right.
sure.
Where she tracks her tethered down to the tunnels where all of them have lived in order to retrieve her son Jason that was stolen during a scuffle with his tethered, and gets the villainous monologue and kills her tethered, comes out on top, but plot twist during
Spoiler,
the ride.
by the way.
Spoiler, huge spoiler. Plot twist during the ride the ride out into the sunset, it's revealed that the Adelaide we've been following this entire time was actually the tethered version that had
The shadow
Was in
version.
fact
the shadow
her original
version.
shadow, yep.
that had choked out her real version and switched places with her back during that traumatic experience when they were
When
kids.
she was 8 or whatever.
Yeah.
And she finishes the job at the end of this
Yeah.
with a choking death.
Yeah.
Yep.
With a
And-
choking
yeah.
neck snap.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then credits.
And then her son Jason realizes maybe not.
So,
And then as they're driving,
oh, go ahead.
And then as they're driving, it's revealed that across all of America, tethers are holding hands.
Trying to get some food, I guess.
Yeah.
Doppelgangers across America.
Doppelgangers
It was going to be one of our possible lines. But yeah, go ahead, Steve-O.
So it is my belief, and this is kind of what I thought of when Jason gives her the stare at the end, that we'll call it the original Adelaide, right? Like that she who gets killed, she told him what happened, and that's why he doesn't trust his, his actual mom, right? Because he realizes that she is the shadow version, and the reason that all of this has happened and all this is happening is because they traded places.
That, and there's also he was the one that had seen her during at least 2 of her kills, where she had kind of reverted back to the animalistic grunts of the tethered.
Which is possibly a clue, or at least for him in character.
And he's half doppelganger too. Whatever they are, he's half
True.
one.
Sure, I suppose.
Tethered, as we've been saying.
He's a
They prefer the term tethered as the proper nomenclature. But anyway, yeah, so given all of that, I thought it was, if we're going to scores, I'm looking at a pretty solid 3. I was very much following everything that's happening throughout. I don't think there was a lull or a dull moment at all. I think it was paced very, very nicely, almost perfectly, in fact. And it had, if not a standard 3-act structure, very clear sort of points. And yeah, man, I was along for the ride the whole time. So I don't think there was a wasted moment or a scene pretty much in terms of plot. So I'm looking at a 3. What do you guys think?
I was thinking that this is kind of like we were talking earlier about the Far Cry video game. At the end of every act, I was kind of wondering where it was going to go. And the thing is, every time I thought I knew what the movie was, I'd get towards the end of every act. I'm like, does he know where this is going? Oh yeah, he knows where this is going. Like
He clearly knew what movie he wanted to make.
No, I agree with you, because at times I thought it started off as like one movie. I thought it was going to be kind of like I thought it was just them. Then I realized it was kind of expanding. And then, I was like, is he going to make a zombie movie? No, it's kind of like this melding of Home Invasion, The Birds, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I mean, he definitely knew what kind of film he was going to make. But every time I was about to, like I said, the strength of this movie is the discernible 3 acts are like, okay, I know what movie this is. Wait, do I know what movie this is? Holy shit, this is the movie I thought it was. He would always re-engage me every time I thought I had figured it out. So I'm definitely giving this a solid 3.
All right.
What I really like about this, and I'll say this right off the bat, I think that I'm probably going to give this movie a 10. If I was going to dock a point, it would be for plot.
Yeah, as we often do, as we were saying precast, yeah.
Because, but like,
it's
so unfair because I thought that the story structure and like whatever of Get Out was a little bit tighter than this, and like if I was going to dock a point anywhere in this, it would be probably for that. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I think that I'm probably going to give this a 3.
Right.
It was engaging from top to bottom.
Yeah, man.
And you're right. Like, so that big twist at the end, I kind of guessed it right away, and then I thought that maybe I was wrong.
Then you got slow rolled, but anyways, right.
And then I realized that I was right again.
Sure.
But it doesn't even matter because there are actual left turns in this movie that you just can't see coming. Like, they don't really telegraph them at all. Like, the movie doesn't really telegraph them at all. And like and they did such a brilliant job marketing it because I had no idea that this was going to be such a broad.
Yeah, they kept that well. You thought it was just one family
spectrum.
basically
Exactly.
versus their own twins.
And like when it turns out that it's everybody that this is happening to, I was like, holy shit. And then they kind of, not even the explanation of like what happened is like very brief and inconsequential mostly.
Almost
but
hand-waved, we'll say. But
like the expanse of what's going on when you realize what the expanse of what happened was is like another left turn that like is almost impossible to see coming, but it's a great move. And like the only way they telegraph that is in the very beginning. They say there's all these tunnels like under America, and like, you know, it's not a telegraph.
It almost seems like unrelated text.
But it's like
okay,
it's like yeah, exactly. When I saw that, I was for the first hour of the movie, I was like, what the fuck was that about? Like, as I kept thinking about it, I was like, when is this going to come to play? And then it does, and you're like, oh, that makes sense. And like it's a really good like setup because it gets you thinking about things like before you even start the movie. So like I really enjoyed and was like kind of on the edge of my seat. I think it's a really good thriller. I think Jordan Peele is very good at creating tension in his films.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna give it full points for plot.
Do you know what's really funny about the beginning of that is I'm a big fan of Supernatural, and they did this one episode about shapeshifters, and they were kind of, it wasn't quite the typical shapeshifter thing, but they all lived underground and in tunnels. So immediately I was just like,
sure, I
get where you're coming from now. It's just like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, I'm getting a solid 3.
3? All right. 3's all around, my friends. All right. So that'll bring us to themes, and that'll be you, Steve-O.
All right.
This one is interesting to me. I think this is going to be a good conversation.
I agree.
So
there's well, I'm gonna leave other ones to other people, but I'm gonna talk about the one that I really want to talk about, which is, kind of like the forgotten people of America, right? It's like this idea of, all these doppelgangers are like, throughout the film, they're viewed as murderers or like these like animalistic people who, but really what it is they've been left behind. And, like, that's the way that they're viewed by the people on top, right? Like, the people on top view them as, like, these animals, like, these barbarians who come, all they do is kill and whatever. But by the end of the movie, they're all... What's that?
So they're not wrong.
Right.
That is what they were doing.
Right. Well, they do get killed by people, but perhaps, not all the people that got killed are deserving of being killed, but their anger is certainly justified, I would say, right? They're just trapped in a fucking labyrinth eating live rabbits
it seems, yes.
as their only food. Like, these people are forgotten by everyone, forgotten by society, and like they rise up in anger, and not everyone who gets the brunt of it is necessarily deserving.
Revolutions
of it,
are messy.
But yeah,
but
exactly. But their anger is certainly justified, right?
Like, yeah, but it should be pointed directly at the government that started the whole thing.
See, like,
well, yeah. Listen, I'm sure everybody in the government got murdered too. Like,
well, perhaps many.
Well, that is an extremely. I didn't think about that. That's fucking brilliant. That it's a social commentary on like the homeless.
Right, like
that's fucking
homeless,
brilliant.
or anybody who has been, or anybody who's been put down, like decided that they were like the underclass, right? Like that. They are literally the underclass in this movie.
Sure,
I
don't know, man. Like, so you made that point to me, like briefly precast, and I guess I'll just say this: I did not get that during the watching of when I was watching Us. So I don't want to like have us directly compare this to Get Out, but at certain points, it's almost unavoidable. I get it, but like, I don't know, man. Like, I was going to say that while I don't think it's like empty of themes or anything, it was just the weakest part and may not have enough heft for me to give it a 1. But I'm not like sold on a 0 either. So yes, what you just said is a good point, and in retrospect, you can see it there. But I guess maybe I'll bring this up here, if not dialogue. You mentioned like there's one line, like the one thing, probably the thing I disliked most about it was I was totally sold. Like, I don't need an explanation to why this is happening. It's just happening. Like, they're just doppelgangers. They live underground or whatever. And now they're coming out to exact their revengeance, if you will, upon the top society, right? But like Adelaide's doppelganger says something like they figured out a way to copy people. Like, it's dropped in there. Like, it's almost like the barest bones of explanations, but it doesn't need to be there, and that's kind of soured me just for that moment.
Yeah, they said they figured out how to clone people, but they couldn't get the soul.
But not souls, right? Like, okay.
Which is really funny because I was okay with that because it leaves a somewhat interpretation. You didn't need to over-explain it. But thematically, I was thinking like the id versus the superego. I immediately went to Freud, which is like I wasn't on that thing, but immediately I was like, well, we've got the id versus the superego here.
Sure. Well, I was going to say, of course, there's a thing from fucking Full Metal Jacket. It represents the duality of man, sir. The what? The duality of man. Like, yeah, I get it. Sure. Like, that's the one I thought of. But that's sort of like there by default because when you do like a doppelganger or a body snatcher kind of film, it's like that's just going to, again, by necessity, be imparted into it.
That's
so like I'm still kind of debating on it. So what's your take on this, Rich?
I don't know. I didn't really like the government explanation. Like I felt like I could have done without that.
I felt it was kind of cheap.
I actually like Steve-O's theme better than like the one that Jordan Peele was saying in like interviews. Just like, we're our own worst enemy. It's like, but they never really like the only one whose enemy really gave them too much trouble was Adelaide's. Like everybody else was like comparatively easily dealt with. Like you had Abraham, who was caught in the blades of the boat. You had Umbre, who was thrown off of a fucking car. And then you had Pluto, who was tricked into walking backwards into a fucking open fire. Like it was like they didn't really like the main characters did not struggle with their tethered.
So
was he tricked, as you're gonna say?
I wanted to that was a really interesting thing. That was the only one that they really worked the theme of like, I don't know if it's a theme, but like being tethered into
exactly
the death, right? Like, did he do that because he was just like he had because he wanted to like copy whatever he was doing because he was doing that in the closet and stuff too, or did he do it because he was compelled to because he had to
because they're their shadows in some sense, right?
Because the only what was it?
I actually love that death.
Yeah, and then it was like because Adelaide and Red. Does she ever mention that her name is Red throughout the entire movie?
I do not think so. At least that I recall.
So anyway, Adelaide and Red, like so far at that point.
By the way,
they were-
Red is actually Adelaide.
Yeah.
But if you look at the
True.
credits, everybody's credited as
I
like
know,
so and so
yeah,
red,
yeah.
so and so red.
But like they're she mentions that they're the only ones that like actually realize the depth of the connection, of the psychic link between the two of them at first. So maybe that's just her son continuing.
Well, because
Whatever.
she knew because she was actually the one
Well,
that was initially connected.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, like, but she's going over. She's like, you knew back then, didn't you?
Yeah.
Like you knew that there was something, because like it seemed like almost that Red was causing Adelaide to walk to that Hall of Mirrors.
Mm.
Yeah, true. Like you're right. Like it's a little bit. I don't
Yeah.
want to say inconsistent, but like the rules seem to like go up and down, right? So like, for example, as you were saying, was Jason controlling his doppelganger by forcing him to walk back into the flames? Like, are they compelled? Because if you remember, when there's a big shot or a long shot of the tunnels of
Yeah.
labyrinths, and everyone's doing the
everybody-
actions.
Yeah.
Like they
Right,
t-
so-
like
Well,
she's
certainly they
like-
were tethered before
Yeah.
all this started happening. Like they were literally tethered, where they had to do the same actions as the people
Yeah.
that were up top were doing.
and like that was the point of the cloning process, to get the tethered to be the ones to control the ones that were up on top.
Right, but it
That was
seemed
the
like
original plan.
it was always the opposite.
Yeah,
Right.
Or at least at the end,
until Adelaide and Red.
Yeah. So like, oh man, like that's all interesting shit, but is it enough for me for themes for one? I don't know. Like, does anybody have anything else thematic
Like I
wise?
said, I like your theme, and I'm gonna give it a 1 for that.
Okay.
Well, the funny thing is in trying to figure out what the themes were, and I definitely agree with Steve-O, that's a much stronger theme, because the only thing I'd heard about is Jordan Peele wrote this because he has this fear of doppelgangers.
Like, cool. Like,
Because
it's fine fear.
the
Make a movie out of
scary.
it.
All right, my number one horror movie is the 1978 version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Out of all my nightmares, not being me, that paranoia that goes into it,
Sure.
the way it's constructed as a film, I think is brilliant.
Well, that movie is much more terrifying than this one. to me,
No.
personally.
But I agree with you. So when I first saw this, I was like sitting here thinking, if they're going to replace it, they couldn't talk. Were they kind of like the Body Snatchers, where they were like these shells, and they kind of had to absorb you in one way or another? Because when Abraham took Gabe's glasses at the beginning,
Yeah.
I'm like, are they working to replace these people? So as the rules change, and to be honest with you, is it Jack? Jason.
The son.
Sorry, Blackish again. Jason. Well, one of the
Don't
twins.
explain it. Just go
One
on.
of the twins' names is Jack. But it was because it seemed like his doppelganger kind of looked up to Jason, like when they're in the closet and he's showing
Sure.
you like. I mean, that death to me was kind of like the saddest, because it seemed to me that Jason's doppelganger kind of looked up to him like you would like an older brother. So Jason brought him to his death out of a matter of trust. So to me, that was the saddest death in the whole film.
I love that because they both kind of walk into their own fire, right? Like
Sure.
Yeah.
he walks back into
It was
like,
very
getting
symbolic
captured.
there, for sure.
Which is really
So what does
cool.
that mean for you for themes?
No, I'm definitely giving it a 1,
Give it a one.
because I like Steve-O's interpretation. I'm just saying that we were talking about rules, and when you talk about rules of the world and what the character's intent, that kind of like pulls in a lot to the themes. But if you're going to do an overarching theme, I would say about the forgotten in the United States or the world, I think is a great theme, and I'm definitely giving it a 1.
And like it's so interesting that one more thing, like it's so interesting that like she Red, I guess, is a transplant from the real world, and she becomes like this great leader of their entire like revolution.
Given that angle.
And the fact that she says, like, when it happened in the movie, when she says we're Americans, I didn't like it at all. But like by the end of the movie, I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense now. Like, like this is the forgotten class of Americans that like you don't see, or like whatever. Like I really love that line that I really didn't like when it was said. Like it just felt like
is now.
it just felt like
solid.
it hit my ear wrong, like when she said it initially, but like by the end of the movie I was like, oh, that is a lot better of a thing that happened. Like that was a lot better now in retrospect, which is really cool that I can see it that way.
Oh man, so like, I guess I might give it sort of. I don't want to say begrudging one because you make very good points, and I think while I might not have seen that myself, like upon again, like I said, viewing, I think it certainly is there, and like you just a good example with that line and like looking backwards at it. So like I said, I was trying to like sort of backdoor myself out of giving this movie a 10, but I mean, I don't see why I should just falsely. So I think I will give it more credit on themes and give it a 1 as well.
But to me, the fact that we're having this discussion of themes, that everybody took something out of it, and everybody was looking for a clue to explain what the themes are, explain the role of the world. It
gives it credit in general.
Yeah.
I agree with that. All right.
It's definitely a think piece. I like it.
Fair enough. So why don't you go on, Chris? Tell us about the antagonist of us.
Well, that's really funny because when we were talking about Adelaide and
Gabe is her husband.
No. Her doppelganger, Red. It's just like one became the antagonist and the other one became the villain. So like you have the antagonist at the beginning, which is Red, who basically traps Adelaide, but then all of a sudden has become the PTSD. She becomes the traumatized, and your victim all of a sudden becomes the antagonist.
That's interesting.
But again, it comes back to the theme of the duality of the human. The duality of humans. Like it's the antagonism is there in front of you, but it's hard to. This is one of those things where it'd be more of an overarching thing. Because the antagonists, because I did at the beginning, I felt threatened by the doppelgangers, and towards the end, like with Jason when he brings his doppelganger's death, I started feeling sympathy towards him, and it's a weird dynamic for these things. So definitely Adelaide and Red, you could flip them at any given point of the story and call each other an antagonist. And then if you go to Steve-O's interpretation, it's just there's a larger antagonism. I mean, I'm going to give it a 1 based on the fact that there is this complexity, that there is at the same time there is an antagonist, but when and who the antagonist is fluctuates, and I think that is part of human nature, and so I it isn't more of a nebulous thing. But I definitely give it a 1 because there was something always there.
Sure. Bizarro, I hear you, pretty much.
There's a point in this movie where Red says, we're all human like you, or something like that.
Yeah, that was part of her explanation.
Right? Which is such an important line in this movie. And or one of the real big turning points. And like, that's in her, like, ending villain speech, right? We're like, but I never see either one of these characters as a villain. I see both of them as trying to like survive, and in the way that they've been dealt. Like there's also a point where she says, "I always imagined what it would be like if you just took me with you," and like when at that point when she says it in the movie, you're supposed to be under the understanding that the original Adelaide just ran away, and it's the shadow version of her that's saying, "I wish you had just taken me with you." But if you look at it at the end of the movie, it's her saying, "Why did you bring me and like lock me down there instead of we could have both just gone?"
Sure. Yeah.
And like that is such an interesting thing to look at. And like this all goes into themes too, I think. But like I mean, I guess I have to they're both antagonists for sure of each other.
Right. Relative
but
to themselves.
Neither one of them do I view as a villain in any way, right? Like I think they both did what they did, sure, out of self-preservation, and sure, both of them have done villainous acts throughout their lives, but I think that they're both just trying to live, and I think that's the entire point is you just try to survive. And if you're dealt a really shitty hand in life, trying to survive means you got to do some bad shit to survive. And that's amazing to me. Like I think that the antagonist and the overarching villain of this piece is I don't know, society making them fucking live in the shadows or
I thought
whatever.
you might
But
say
like,
that 'cause I was going
but
to,
like,
right?
it doesn't even have to get to that. Both of them are amazing antagonists for each other.
I'm having a hard time trying to think of a movie where the antagonist and the protagonist were the exact same person.
Yeah. I mean, I think
not a movie,
I think
but
we've said it before.
We did it on by his bootstraps, but that isn't
Yeah,
a movie, but
yeah.
it does fit.
Yeah, but without time travel.
Forgot that.
All right.
But it's like this is the main thing that I've been thinking about all day after watching the movie. Is can I really see? I can't really see Red as
That's like
Adelaide as a straight antagonist, which is good because like you want a multi-dimensional antagonist.
Yep.
And I mean, if I'm going to go ahead and give protag and antagonist a 1 at the same time, a dual 1
because of that. Yeah,
Yeah,
doppelganger
because,
one.
And let's give Lupita Nyong'o, I believe is her name. Let's give her
Yeah, she
all the
was
credit in the
fucking
world.
fantastic.
She was incredible in
Agreed.
this, in her dual
In our
role.
dual roles, yes.
And,
Exactly.
Oh my god, amazing job. Everybody did a great job in like their dual roles, but she was the
She'd probably
standout.
stand out.
If
yeah.
she doesn't get a nomination for Best Actress this year, I will be surprised and outraged.
You will do your own untethering.
Yes.
But not like, so like, you guys like covered it more deeply, but I was going to say like, just as a straight up horror flick, like I think the doppelganger family was super effective. And then as it was revealed, like, it's not just them, it's the couple that they're friends with and they have their own doppelgangers and the whole fucking world. So like just on the surface level, I thought it was effective. And yeah, you can go even deeper than that, as you just said. And I think I probably will follow suit with Rich and also give protagonist a 1 sort of enfolded. But I'm just saying like, as like a menacing force within the framework of the story, I think it was really, really effective and was used quite well.
I do have to say the only member of the tethered family that I found as actually evil was Ombre.
Yeah.
Because she was fucking creepy.
Yeah.
And like even her own mother called her a monster.
Yeah.
That's true. That was one of the very first things when she was explaining like the
So she was born a monster. Like she was born laughing, and I hate her.
Well, a couple things. Number one, I agree with you and Rich. I'm going to give antag and protag a 1 because, as I said before, they're
it seems to fit
interchangeable.
very nicely in this film. Yeah. Go on.
But another thing is, antagonist doesn't necessarily have to mean a villain.
Yeah, of
Right,
course
yeah,
not.
yeah.
But
And it can be a catalyst too. And number 3, the thing I liked is kind of a trope because I know that they're doing it. Like there's that YouTube hoax with that, I don't know, with that smiling. It just seems like that wide smile that curls up, like kind of like the Joker.
Momo.
yeah,
Yeah, Momo.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that, or like these,
sure. It's a sinister smile.
or like the smiling woman in the Japanese folk legend, the nurse who had her.
Yes.
It's kind of like the Joker from the Nolan movies.
Yeah.
I mean, that trope never ceases to give me the fucking creeps.
Yeah, it's creepy for a reason because it's like viscerally
Yeah.
effective for sure.
So yeah, I'm giving both
everybody's scared of
antagonist and protagonist a
Yeah,
1.
exactly. All right, very nice. Well, because we all have just sort of given antag and protag a 1, but it's supposed to be on me for protag. So I don't have much more to say since, like we said, we covered it. Yeah, she was fantastic in that role, and like I guess you could say maybe her family, like were ensemble the protagonist, but
Supporting
it was
characters.
clearly her. Like it was her
Yeah.
story. Like she was the lead in it for sure. So we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, like I said, unless anyone else also has anything they want to add on to protag versus what we just said. I think we're sort of double killing them, tethering them together, if you will, and giving them both all a 1.
I want to
Yeah, you got some.
briefly touch on the like how that switchover worked. I love the fact that they had her like not talk in the beginning because she couldn't talk, you know,
yeah.
like, and then learned how to talk as like time went on. Learned how to be like the other side of the tether, I guess,
Yeah.
if you will.
That's what actually like sold. That's when that drove home because as soon as going into it, I was just like, well, it's a movie about doppelgangers. Somebody's getting twin switched. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a part of a doppelganger story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like as soon as the opening ended and like it cut away from like her reaction, I was like, she got switched.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe not. And then they had like, well, she hasn't spoken since that happened. I was like, she definitely got switched.
But
She's the
do you know what?
change.
Do you know what I like about that is you got the sense where she and Jason knew it, But by the same token, it's just like they weren't going to act on it. They weren't going to be like, okay, I'm evil now and make that evil switch.
But the thing is,
no,
she's
because
not
she's
evil.
She's not.
She's fucking a person. Like,
but that's my whole point.
Plus, she's still his mother.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't
she's
change
his
anything.
fucking mom.
But a lesser filmmaker would have gone for that. And then
Like
this is
done it cheaply. You're saying.
this is a credit I'm going to give to Get Out too, and what I liked about Jordan Peele. As soon as I saw Get Out and kind of twigged as what was going on, I'm like, here's what's going to happen. The TSA agent's going to show up, and Chris is going to be one of them. And he really always ceases to subvert my expectations in one way or another. He doesn't always.
He ceases to subvert.
No, he continues to subvert your
He
expectations.
continues to subvert my. Sorry, what did I say?
He ceases.
He
stops subverting.
What I meant.
Chris is a doppelganger, everybody.
What I meant to
can't
say
speak
was
correctly.
he never ceases to impress me, which is why I'm really glad he's showrunner of the new Twilight Zone, because
I get you.
again, a Twilight Zone episode is supposed to be a think piece. The best science fiction is
He's good at knowing the tropes of horror in and out and messing with them and like twisting them just enough that you can sort of see it, but also it doesn't never feels cheap and anything. So
Jordan Peele and Dan Harmon for president and vice president.
or they should do a show together. But anyway,
or whatever.
oh my god.
So is that your final?
I was gonna
okay.
say, if the two of them get, I don't know if my brain can handle it, but okay, I'd be willing to try
Trope
if they do
masters.
that.
It clearly cannot. But is that your final thought on Protag? So we can.
Yeah, we can
All
move
right,
on.
so you just mentioned it, Rich, just before. Secondary? Tell us about the secondary characters. I guess the rest of the family and all the other fucking doppelgangers.
Yeah. So,
And real people.
I loved all the secondary characters, especially the Tylers, for what they were. Like, just and I was saying this to somebody today that it was still so weird for me to see the white family be the sacrificial lambs in a horror movie.
Yeah.
Because like the rule, like it got me. Like I was like I saw it happen and I still was not expecting it. I'm like, this is weird. It's a good weird though, but it's weird. And I just like I love that. I love
another messing with the tropes.
Yeah.
As we were saying.
I love the rest of the family. Like I love how they got into that argument over who had the biggest kill count.
Yeah, well, that's
and
coming
why
to
that
dialogue,
like
but it was a great scene. Yeah.
But like why that and trying to figure out who was going to drive.
Yeah, that was great too.
But yeah, I like that. I love the society that's tethered. Like the scene where they show them mirroring everything that
All the
happened.
actions
All the actions upstairs was amazing. Like I didn't know I needed that.
Until you saw
like this, like what got me, like besides all this stuff with them like mirroring what was happening on the boardwalk, especially that fucking creepy smile from Yaya, Adelaide's father. What's his name? His tether's name is Waylon. I know that.
I don't know.
know.
Can you remember his tether?
Yeah,
I know.
ridiculous.
I know.
I don't
Which is
remember
weird.
what his name was.
But like he was what's his face from the Get Down?
Yeah. Yeah, he was. Oh, yeah,
Wait, you mean Abraham?
Get down.
No,
No, not
no,
Abraham.
like
her
Adelaide's
father,
original
Adelaide's
father. In the
Adelaide's
80s.
original. Oh shit, he was Mantis, wasn't he?
Yeah, Black
Yeah.
Manta.
Yeah.
Manta.
I didn't recognize that, but yeah, in '86 on the boardwalk,
Oh, yeah.
it was her father.
Yeah.
But like seeing that, and like what really got me is when the ballet recital, the one in the hallway with the group of people just standing
Yeah.
grouped together in the hallway,
Yeah.
which is gonna go into style. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I loved all the secondary characters. I loved the concept of the tethered and how they were portrayed. And I'm giving it a solid, like the highest of ones.
Yeah, I mean, I mostly agree to that. Like, I'm not going to add on to that because I'm pretty much in the same boat. But I will say, you had mentioned it to me, so you'd happen to see this movie a little bit earlier than I did. And you're like, yo, Tim Heidecker is in it, like, randomly. And, like, he's, like, the husband of the white family. So, I mean, when you see him, like, of course you fucking, at least I do, can't help but think of, like, Tim and Eric and, like, Tom Goes the Mayor and all that shit. But, like, he was a perfect casting because he was somewhat comedic relief, but, like, it also made sense. And, yeah, like you're saying, like, for, like, maybe, I don't know how long into the movie it is, but for a long time you're led to believe it's just the main family, right? So then when it cuts to Tim Heidecker and his wife and their twin daughters, He's like, oh, I hear something outside, and like then they instantly get murdered by their own. I'm like, yo, that's fucking awesome. So
Yeah,
that was a nice
his doppelganger, the physical comedy of him, it was so
exactly
good.
So again, that's
it's
style
so
and all.
good.
But yeah, I agree. Like the family had great chemistry amongst themselves, and just you're right, Rich. The idea of the tethered and their society and so forth, and how they're forced to live and survive was fucking awesome. So yeah, I'm giving secondary.
Honestly, like the only reason the main character survived is because real Adelaide wanted revenge.
Yeah,
Like that was the only reason she wanted to drag it out as long as possible.
Yeah. Like she was almost killed a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then people didn't kill, like specifically Elizabeth Moss's doppelganger. I don't remember what her name is, but like she was holding a knife up to her fucking throat and then like pulled back. And I assume it's because she's basically given orders not to kill her because she was for somebody else. You know, like that. Like that shit, like it's never specifically said, but the way that it's visually,
I think it is specifically said, actually, if you recall. But go on.
No, I don't.
So
wait, in the beginning, she does say that she doesn't want to.
She says, "What do you want?" She's like, "We want to take our time." Do you remember that?
Fair,
which implies, like,
but that's like I assume that as like the family, but I guess it's like her. It
was her specifically. I don't think it was for anybody else.
Well, like I interpreted this, even though it was never said. I interpreted this as like Red is the only one that can kill her, right? Like
I agree.
She has spread this amongst all of her, like, you know, people in the tethered.
Because when they get out of the house, she's the only one that's grabbed and dragged in, and they immediately subdue her instead of and just run like they run interference on everybody else.
Yeah, but if I may, for anybody who hasn't looked this up, because I looked it up immediately after I got out of the theater, Jeremiah 11:11. Therefore, thus saith the Lord. Behold, I will bring evil upon them, which they shall not be able to escape. And though they shall cry unto me, I will not hearken unto them.
That's the Bible.
All right, Rorschach.
Wait, is that Old Testament shit again?
That's Jeremiah 11:11.
Probably.
Yeah,
it's a sign that the guy in the
it's back.
And
in the
like if you
God.
notice, like, well, if you remember, like the clock was 11:11 at one point. There were a lot of like
they did mention that it was a random motif, yeah, sure.
But yeah, that guy in the boardwalk was just a great, like, creepy character from a horror movie, like the perfect.
He's like the harbinger, almost like
that poor dude though. Like he did not deserve to be murdered by his doppelganger.
Hey, I mean, you know, you're gonna get murdered by somebody. Get murdered by somebody with 11:11.
It's like he was the first one as far as anybody else knows.
Yeah.
But the movie setup for sure. So does that mean we're all giving secondary one? I certainly.
Yeah,
I wanted to mention. Oh shit! I had somebody else to mention too.
Can I say something?
Please go ahead.
I love the fact that they had the twins. That Tim Heidecker's. Because they set it up like they did the whole Jinx, you owe me a beer or whatever. Jinx, you owe me a Coke. I thought that was really great.
Jinx, triple Jinx,
blackout.
Yeah, and I like the fact that once their doppelgangers came up, they immediately start doing cartwheels and so forth, and that they seem really happy they could do cartwheels in the open, which kind of parallels Adelaide Red's being able, the ballet thing, which I thought was great.
Brilliant scene.
Agreed.
Anyway.
Which it's almost, I guess it's implied that like Adelaide hadn't done ballet, but Red ended up doing ballet later on, and she's the reason that she was able to dance.
Well, there was a little scene in a quote about that or a line
all of that whole scene where she's like dancing out of her way was so kung fu. It was like a kung fu movie.
I know. I want to talk about that a lot.
God,
in style.
we're going to talk about that in style for sure. But
what's really funny is you come off of Suspiria like with the whole with the antagonist where Susie is dancing up top and what's her name is being like disfigured below.
All right, stop fucking talking about Suspiria.
Oh, you haven't?
Please.
Oh shit, that's right. All right, never mind.
Por favor.
Well, that one will be coming out after this. But anyways, and any final thoughts on secondary?
No, because I think a lot of what I have to say about secondary is going to go into style, and that's me. So
well, let's go on to dialogue next. That'll be you, Steve-O.
The dialogue in this movie is terrific.
Pretty damn
very,
solid, man.
very good mix of really tension building scenes, which were cut by comedy. Like in a good horror movie, you'll you'll see this. Like, I find that horror fails the most when it tries to be just horror and doesn't have any moments of levity in it.
It takes itself too seriously.
Jordan Peele, obviously, coming from a comedic background, knows how to be
He knows what a
funny
precision pinpoint.
and knows
the funny, if you will.
well, I would say like you don't necessarily know how to do that, but he is such a I would say a student of the
That's what I'm
genre
saying.
that he knows
He can,
where
exactly.
he can put his jokes in, and his jokes are fucking top notch because he's a top notch comedian before he came into the horror genre.
Plus, a lot of the humor is derived from the inherent humor in the situation.
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
especially in Get Out. Like, you see Chris cracking a smile at, like, the inherent absurdity
Right.
at the things that go on around him. And, like, the family and us, like, does the exact same thing. Like, when they're past the point, what's the line? It's like, you're scaring the kids or something like that, and they're like, too late.
Too late. Yeah, they both say too
And
late.
they're
at the same time.
they're so like past the point of giving a fuck about anything because things have gotten so weird. They've had to kill themselves, and like now they're just like all right, we're fucking murdering doppelgangers. That's it. Like we're there now.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's just like they're like dryly commenting about all that's going on.
To your
love it.
To your point about Jordan Peele, and I guess this would go to Tim Heidecker too. Joss Whedon once said in the commentary to Serenity, one of the reasons he hired Sarah Paulson, who he's a fan of hers, because she was a comedic actress. And he always said it's easier to go from drama to comedy.
From comedy to drama?
Like comedy to drama, because comedy is much more difficult than drama.
Sure.
And being able to do comedy, you know, you have timing, you do have drama. It encompasses so much. And I think, as we say, so much of it comes out in this film in terms of, especially I was thinking about supporting characters, Tim Heidecker being in this, and why he does such a great job, and why he's such a great supporting character.
Yeah, man. I mean,
It's just his little, like, fucking putting his hands in his pockets and he's, like, walking around in the ship, like, or on the boat is, like, so fucking perfect.
It's
like,
subtle, but like it adds so much to it.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Oh my
for
god.
Sure. And I agree. Like, yeah.
I love him, like, saying where what does he say? He's like sitting there. He's just like, she's Kitty's with concern. He looks down at his drink and he's just like, well,
I'm busy.
I'm busy. Yeah.
Oh, you mean when he's still alive?
Yeah. Before
I thought you meant when he like goes to hand, like when he goes to give her hand up and he just like gives the like
because it makes
comb his hair back.
You're like,
oh, it's so perfect.
You're like obviously his doppelganger is just as much of a douche as he is.
He's
So
just
like,
a fucking
he would
asshole.
clearly do that.
He's learned this.
But yeah.
He's learned this from his own doppelganger to be an asshole.
But yeah, I mean, of course, I agree. Like, it was all believable, and the tension, one of you mentioned, and then like precision, perfect, like comedic, like moments, like the car thing. Like, no, I have the most kills. Actually, technically, I killed too, like whatever, right? So like that was fantastic. Yeah, and it was just like you said.
I killed both twins.
Yeah, Jordan Peele.
I killed myself, and I killed. You say
I
like
Josh
I killed
or whatever.
Josh, yeah.
Josh's twin. Yeah,
so I killed two. I got the most.
So I'm driving. So like all that was great, and like again, it wasn't overused. Just like at the right time and the right amount, there was moments of levity that then would just shine through the I don't want to say absurd horror, but like the serious horror and of what was happening in the plot. So yeah, I'm giving Dialogue a very, very strong one. I believe we all are doing that.
I believe so.
Yep. All right, so here we go.
Right.
This is one of the big ones. You get to talk about it first, Chris. The style.
Oh my god! First of all, I want to give props to the soundtrack. It's I don't have my phone here.
You just said
Mike Aldman.
Yeah, there you go.
Aldman.
I hope that's right.
His score was beautiful. It was it paid homage to Ave Santi, Jerry Goldsmith's Omen soundtrack, and
sure.
A bit of the Bernard Herrmann from Psycho. But I'm gonna say the Jordan Peele has got a great eye. He has got a great eye, but when you're seeing Lupita Nyong'o, it's hard to say if she's Adelaide or Red at this point, where she's cutting the paper dolls, and she takes up like 2/3 of the screen, and you could see Adelaide or the real Red, whatever, in the background. I'm like, this is such a fucking amazing shot, because this is bringing forth one personality while the other personality is in the background, and either one could be interchangeable at any given point in time. Those shots, because they pan back and forth, I think was the single most effective thing out of a movie where there's so many effective shots, so many homages paid without ever winking to the audience. I think that he's got a great eye. I love the score. I loved the way this film was shot. I think, as we all said before, comedic timing, knowing how to pace something is very, very important. I'm giving this a very, very strong one, and I'm going to let you guys take it from here.
All right, so I'm just going to speak briefly something you mentioned, but I'll expand upon. Yes, I agreed. Cinematography was top-notch, fantastic. Every shot looked great. It all worked together. I like the world building, but you mentioned it, Chris, so there were clearly a number, at least to me, of references that Jordan Peele, like, he's a student of horror, or at least is at this point, and sort of, it's like he's showing his work, but not like directly, obviously, like ripping anything off or anything. But for example, the opening drive to the beach, that's like The Shining, right? Mm-hmm. And then Jason's wearing a Jaws shirt. Oh, yeah. Right?
Yep.
And then there's a shot of a whole bunch of seagulls on the beach. To me, the birds, Hitchcock, classic stuff. Like you said, it wasn't like, hey, wink, wink, nod, nod, know this. It was just sort of organically there as part of the story. But clearly, if you're more of a movieophile, if you will, filmophile like us, like you're going to know the reference. It's obvious without being obtrusive about it, I guess I'll say. And everything else, right? The soundtrack was top notch. I like many, if not all, the songs that were chosen, again, in the more serious stuff and the comedic parts. So yeah, man, style is probably one of the strongest, if not the strongest for me, aspect of Us.
I didn't think I needed a fight scene set to fuck the police. But I got one.
You saw it.
I got one.
That was so brilliant. That was such a great meta commentary too on like.
I actually, so like,
that got me too.
Like when
also fuck the police because they never fucking showed up.
Yeah. Well, they were busy.
Yeah, I guess so.
As you find out later.
Yeah.
But before that, like I thought, like my immediate thought was that they were gonna play like the police, and, like message in a bottle or some bullshit.
That's
like
what I thought too. Yeah.
But then like
you're right. I thought that's so
the police was such a better choice, and it made so much more sense for this movie.
Wow, you know what I just know about you made me think about it. So I tried to describe the scene. What's happening is it was Kitty, right? Who was like she was like she got slashed, not a throat slit per se, but like. So she said, call the police, but obviously the thing said, playing fuck the police instead. Yeah. Like, that got me. And if you remember before that, Josh played Good Vibrations. Yeah.
Beach Boys, yeah.
Obviously. So, like, yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, so then they got murdered to Good Vibrations, which is a fantastic murder song.
Yeah, exactly.
A great murder song.
Yeah.
For sure.
But the whole thing about the Alexa Siri thing, about always fucking up like what you're saying, I thought was such
that's a funny joke unto itself.
I thought it was such a great commentary.
What is it called? Ophelia?
Ophelia.
Which is a great reference on top of that.
I mean, I guess the biggest thing that I wanted to touch on was that I thought that Get Out was incredible stylistically, the cinematography, and that was great. I think that Jordan Peele is getting better as a director.
I kind of agree as well.
In this movie,
he's expanding his vision.
Visceral. It was visually more appealing, which is incredible because Get Out was
fucking great as well. Yeah, for sure.
In that regard. And he is just getting better and better in figuring out the shots he wants to do, learning from those that came before him, Hitchcock, like we said. Like I said, I was saying,
and also having his own style for sure.
That Get Out was a Hitchcock movie. This is a Carpenter movie, right? Like this is his like if Get Out was his homage to Hitchcock, this is his homage to Carpenter. I think. And
I would largely be on board with that description. Yes.
I love what he's doing in terms of like pushing the genre forward because like even though he's homaging well, I don't know if Carpenter was like a direct homage in this, but like that's kind of what it felt like to me. But like it's so much different from that type of movie as well.
Yeah,
as,
it's its own thing,
as well as being kind of that movie, and like he is really pushing the genre forward stylistically in a lot of ways, and I cannot wait to see his next movie. I am, and the other thing that I wanted to mention was the big Hands Across America thing.
Sure, I mean that was set up early on too.
Yeah, well, they had
like almost
in the first scene. I think they had the Hands Across America thing. Like I don't exactly like. I get so like there's a part and it was like they're talking about Hands Across America is like this is about feeding the underclass and like so I looked at it throughout the whole movie when as soon as I realized it was happening as like oh they're just hungry and they want to eat something that's better than rabbit and they think that joining hands and like going across the country will think but I think it has a deeper meaning than that. I just don't know what the fuck it is.
No.
If that's what it was, like somebody showed up with like, or like they like happened to run into like, the tether happened to show up with their family and they just like have more than enough food. And they're just like, why don't you sit down and join us? And they just like broke bread and like had a fantastic night.
Yeah, it was
like that family, they got along fantastic.
Yeah,
like, they didn't get murdered.
But Steve-O, that plays into what the theme you brought up because they said distinctly that Hands Across America was to feed those less fortunate. It was a fundraising thing, right? But it does play in
goes
precisely to your theme of the people who are poor, the homeless, whatever. That I just thought that was great.
And also Hands Across America was like this fucking failed bullshit like celebrity feel better scam.
No, that was like USA for Africa.
Well, same shit. But like like this was like a thing to make celebrities feel better because they were spokespeople for this and like it didn't really fucking help anybody, and I think that's kind of what the thing was. I'm not sure exactly what.
I guess we won't know for
Jordan
sure
Peele was going
what he was
for when he was writing the
he says
script,
it to us.
But like,
sure,
there is that like vague understanding that that's kind of what they were going for, and I like I don't know. The style of this movie is awesome. I love the cinematography. I love all the music, as you guys talked about, which is why I didn't mention it all that much, but
Janelle Monáe.
I love
Thank
Janelle
you,
Monáe was in it. Chris loves Janelle Monáe lately, so he has to give a shout out.
Uh-huh.
And as do we all. And
I was in before
though. I think that
anyway,
Scott, OG original, OG Janelle Monáe.
And before
lover.
Chris, at least that is.
He's the original Janelle Monáe fan.
Yeah.
I was into these guys.
I like her early
but...
shit, dudes. But anyway, go on.
He was there at all her talent shows back in the day.
But anyway, I love the style in this movie, so I'm going to give it a 1.
She asked me to be manager. I said, fuck that.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Rich.
So I have to talk about that last hallway ballet fight scene.
Go for it.
Which
Please.
was the most hauntingly beautiful thing I've seen in a while.
I think that's a very good description, yeah.
And I love it so much how it was so one-sided. It was so one-sided up until the last stroke.
Mm-hmm.
And just the choreography was beautiful. Like she sets it up right before the ass whooping.
It was straight up kung fu, man.
Yeah. She sets it up right before the ass whooping. She's like, God, I wish I could remember the line. It's like funny, like thanks to you, I was able to dance.
Yeah, I would never dance if it wasn't for you. I would never dance like this or something like that.
Yeah, I would never dance if it wasn't for you. And then the dark reprise of I Got 5 on It with the string instruments plays, and she just dances her way around all of her moves and just like stabs the shit out of her.
Yeah,
like gracefully as well.
Gracefully stabs the shit out of her and just toys with her all the way up until the end. And it's
yeah, you're right. It's fantastic. It's I didn't think of it this time, but now that you meant at the time of watching it is, but it's not quite again like fucking like the thing from Daredevil, but it's like a less brutal fight, but it's still like in a long hallway, like with flickering shadows and just like a dance of death between two combatants. And yeah, you're right.
Dance of death is a perfect term.
Yeah,
great choreography. Yeah.
So I agree. That was definitely a standout scene, and it sort of like puts the cap on how great the style was. I think.
One.
No,
that's it.
All right.
I was gonna say
11.
I had Suspiria reference here that we can't talk about.
All right. But anyway,
Don't
so
talk about that.
With that, it comes to me for a recommendation. Like, yeah, fucking yeah, hell yeah, Yes is or Us is awesome. I want to see it again. In fact, that's become sort of my new yardstick. Like, I would see it again tonight or tomorrow, if I could. And I'm definitely going to maybe buy it when it goes a little bit on sale. But either way, yeah, I would recommend it for sure. I know we dance around this, if you will, but I'm not sure if I like it better than Get Out at this point. But I might. I'd have to see it again, in fact, and then see Get Out again and so forth. But just as a modern, great, solid as hell horror movie, absolutely.
It's like I was pretty much like, fuck, I'm gonna have to watch this one again. Like as soon as the credits roll, I was like, God, God damn it! Like why'd you have to do this? Where I like immediately like me, Chris, and Beth had seen it together, and like we just like sat there until after the credits rolled because we were just like so kind of dumbstruck, and like just like processing everything. And like it was great because these guys behind us were just like,
awesome.
Why the fuck do we stay here for the rest of the credits? It's like, oh, I guess we're ruined by all these Marvel movies having shit going on. I was like, part of me like kind of wanted a sequel or an after credits scene to just like I don't know, like wean me off of what just happened.
Sure.
I really wanted to turn around and be like, shut up. If I said, I know why we're here. If you're expecting a Marvel ending, please leave now. I'm trying to listen to the score and process.
You're giving those guys a 0, but definitely recommending
Poor
it.
guys.
What do you think?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. Terrific movie. I think we all gave it 10s, right?
Yep, I'm about to tell you, but that is spoiler, yes.
But a spoiler, watch out for spoilers.
Spoiler, the 10 is actually another 10 from the underground.
But yeah, it's a fantastic movie. It's a movie that you're going to think about after you leave the theater, which is one of my
good hallmarks.
One of my big things on a recommendation. So, yeah.
When it comes to horror films, I ask first and foremost that it be a good film. And like, if you look back on this,
like
film,
Hereditary,
I'm gonna give it another watch, and I'm looking forward to his new film that's coming out in the summer. But first of all, foremost, it's got to be a good movie. Second of all, even if I as I said before with Hereditary, I'd rather hate a movie that I can't let go of than love a movie that I instantly forget. This movie is a movie that I loved, and I haven't been able to let go of.
Yeah.
I want it to scare me, and if it can't scare me, I want it to give me that chill up my spine that also doesn't go away. Yeah. And this film still gives me the chills. There's a lot, as we discussed about, there's a lot going on. There's a lot to talk about with this film. There's a lot to think about with this film. But at the end of the day, I was kind of freaked out to go to sleep last night. I'm like, I want to watch something because
that certainly is a good horror film.
It definitely ranks as it's just a fucking solid film. I think it's the first great film that I saw of 2019. I highly recommend it. I'm like you. I'm fucking buying this as soon as it's available. I just can't say enough about it. I'd love to go see it again if I get the chance while it's in the theater. And I'm really happy that it had a really good Thursday night take on it.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to do pretty damn well at the box office. So
yeah,
definitely on board with that. So yeah, like I don't have much more to add. It is perfect 10s. We've all given it a 10, which averages out to a 10. So I'll get to the follow-up question.
Does it?
In a sec.
As you know,
somehow it's a fucking 11. Like it's an 11-11.
My favorite question.
But no, like just before I get to that, but yeah, I mean, I'm super excited to see anything Jordan Peele does next. Like I said, I'm so glad to have like sort of
Twilight
a new
Zone coming up.
Yeah, a new modern horror auteur, if you will, making the shit that I love. So yeah, so is it a perfect 10 film outside of our? Would you give it a 10 on an arbitrary scale?
I would.
I probably wouldn't. I give it like a 9.5 or a 9 or something.
I mean, I like going.
But it's going to be close.
Yeah, going into this, I did not think I was going to give it a 10. And like even after I've given it 1, like I feel like it's not quite a 10 movie. Like there's still some questions that I have rolling around in my head.
It's close, right? But it's just not there.
It's just like it's almost there. It's not quite.
Agree.
Yeah, I pretty much feel the same way. So like I said, I was looking for a way to not give it a 10 on our scale, but like you guys convinced me of 1 or 2 things that I was debating about. So yeah, like while it does earn a 10 on the Mott scale, I think it's very close, but not quite close to a perfect 10 movie, if you will, outside of it.
My biggest thing, I wouldn't give it a perfect 10. My biggest thing is that it's a little bit looser than I would have liked the script to be, and I mean, like that's basically it. Like so we gave Get Out a 10, and I said that I thought that should have been a 10 movie. We gave this a 10, and I think it should have.
Just
like
shy of it.
9.5. Yeah, like it's not as good as Get Out, right? Like, but it's a very good.
But it's
follow-up.
fucking quality.
It's a very,
and
very good follow up,
and you should definitely check it out.
I'm not mad that we gave it a 10. I just like if I was arbitrarily giving you a number, it wouldn't be a 10.
Sure. All right. Well, I think that'll do it. Do you have any?
Hold on.
No, I don't have anything to say. I agree with you. Maybe maybe it's not a perfect film. Maybe it's not a perfect 10, but
it's goddamn
but
good.
like if you're rating, I ranked it on IMDb and I gave it a 10 because it would definitely be a 9.5, 9.75, something to bring it. If you're going to do law of averages, bring it to. I agree with you. There's a couple things that you're kind of
small little
a few small things, but the fact that we're sitting here talking about it, the fact that we want to go back for more, the fact that we're thinking about it, definitely, at least on our scale, it warrants a 10.
It's high praise indeed, and yeah, man. All right, so if nothing else, I think we'll call it a night, and hopefully we will not be having to battle our own doppelgangers after this. But if so, I will be either Scott Thurlow or Scott Thurlow. See you next time. I've been here with Rich Perry.
Yeah, I don't really know how to follow up that one.
Yeah.
And Stephen Amosi.
I'm Steven, or my reverse name, Nevitz.
Mm-hmm. And Chris Morgan.
Good night.
And we'll see you next time.
Editing and engineering by Christopher Morgan. Music by Christopher Morgan. Check us out on YouTube and iTunes for the shows, and on Facebook and Twitter for updates. Or Mott's?